Hey guys, on this episode of Driving Fast and Taking Chances with Bad Brad, we've got Gray Garrison right here in the hot seat. Tough questions, tough answers. We get to learn who his favorites are, who his least favorites are, all of the drama, everything that goes on behind the scenes, and we ask questions nobody's ever been brave enough to ask Gray Garrison, and we get answers. You don't want to miss this episode, Driving Fast and Taking Chances. Hey guys, Bad Brad right here, driving fast and taking chances. Our friend Gray Garrison joined us today. If you're in the market for a new trailer, toter home, whatever it may be, JeffHillTrailerSales.com. Jeff Hill's got a great selection right there on the lot. Can build you a custom trailer. He built our last service trailer, and Jeff and his people are great folks to do business with. JeffHillTrailerSales.com for your next trailer. Well, we're honored today to have Gray Garrison on the show with us here. One of our short list guys here for the first deal, man, for, anybody in automobile racing, short track asphalt. If you don't know Gray Garrison, you obviously live under a rock. Gray, thanks for making the trip down, about an hour's drive for you. Thanks for coming down to welcome today.
Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. Hey, so Gray, the very first thing that I've got for you is for those people who are out there who don't know you, who is Gray Garrison?
Gray Garrison was a third generation promoter of a racetrack.
What racetrack?
Bowman Gray.
Okay.
Been to Bowman Gray all my life. Been there, 50 plus years. We've seen a lot of people made a lot of cars go in a circle. Had a lot of stuff thrown at me. A few choice words thrown at me. But it's just something we did. Like I said, I'm third generation. My grandfather was originally one of the people that started Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem.
And who was your grandfather, for those that don't know?
Alvin Hawkins, with Bill France Sr. They started it. And it was kind of one of those things where they were promoting, dozen dirt tracks up in the East Coast, Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all these dirt tracks. And this, they had a stadium built there in Winston-Salem. It was built by the WPA program, the Works Progress program, after the Depression. And they had this circle track. It was a cinder track, and they trotted horses on it. Well, there was a guy that was promoting midget car racing, and he talked the city into paving the track. And when they paved the track, he would pay them back if they spent the money to pave it. He would pay them back from the proceeds of the races. Well, the city paved it. The promoter ran a race, took the proceeds, and left.
Oh my!
Didn't pay the bill. So the city said, "Well, we got to do something. So let's call this France guy and Hawkins guy that are promoting races and see what they think about it." Well, at that time, my understanding was, it's a long time ago, way before me. But anyway, they said, we just don't know if this racing thing will work on pavement. Everything's dirt.
Fair enough. Everybody was dirt at the time.
Everybody was dirt, and they said, we just don't know if it's going to make it, Anyway, they came, they ran races on pavement, and as you can see, it's done real good for NASCAR.
It's done really good, yeah. How many years are we now? 1948, right?
1948 was first race, 1948. So you do the math, 70-some years, 77, wow. 78 years. And through those years, and being the third generation, my job has been not to screw it up.
Right.
That's just the thing.
The groundwork was kind of laid.
It was, and after 70-some years, everything's been tried.
100 times.
It's been tried, and like they say, there is no new ideas, just recycled old ones and refined to the day's times.
So walk us a little bit through the family tree. So Alvin was your grandfather. That was Bill France's original partner in that.
Correct.
At some point, him and Bill separated. Bill went and did his thing. Alvin did his thing. So was your grandfather, now was your mom your dad's side?
My mom's side. When France and Hawkins really didn't split, as France used to go. He went to do the speed trials at the beach in Daytona, and then he would come back up and live with the Hawkins family.
Oh wow!
Here in Winston-Salem during the summer. So my mother grew up with Bill Jr.
Okay.
And Jimmy France. The whole family lived in one big house, and they grew up together.
Wow, that's awesome.
So in that, it was my mother's side. So it was my grandmother, grandfather. And then I had Uncle Joe Hawkins.
Yeah.
And Joe came down, and Joe promoted for a lot of years.
Yes, sir.
And then when he passed away, it was kind of gone to the next generation, which is Johnny Penless, Dale Penless.
Okay.
Johnny is sisters with my mother.
Okay.
So that's how it came in. And we just...
So Johnny was your mom's sister.
That's correct.
So Johnny was your aunt.
That's correct.
Okay.
Johnny was my aunt. Dale was my uncle. And we were kind of thrown into it a little bit. And I always loved racing. I'm a motorhead, as you call it.
Sure.
So it was kind of then at that evolution, all the other cousins did their tour of duty. And they got smart and went away and got another job. But, I just hung around. I didn't know any better.
You couldn't get away from that,
yeah,
man.
couldn't get away.
That's pretty awesome. So 1948, they all start. They all kind of get to the next level. And we kind of touched a little bit on the heritage of Bowman Gray. And one of the things that we hear, it's actually North Carolina's longest running, best attended sports attraction. Now, we're not talking car racing because obviously nationally we're winning. But when we look at it globally from a ongoing deal, from the heritage of that, there's nothing in our state that has been running longer on a consistent basis than Bowman Gray Racing. What do you think has built that culture? What do you think has built that heritage? And why do you think the torch was able to be passed third generation?
Well, I think there's a lot of things there. Back when NASCAR got started, it was the adrenaline rush, the people coming back from the war. You've heard the stories before. And I think what really propelled it into the next level was when Winston got involved, R.J. Reynolds.
Sure.
They got involved on the upper levels, which really made the Cup Series and those series take off. Then they got involved with the weekly level. And when they got in the weekly level, their theory was they wanted racetracks.
All of it.
Everywhere.
They want all of it, yeah.
They wanted it all. They wanted racetracks everywhere. It was the more the better. The more signs we hang up and say Winston, the better it is.
Do you think it was beneficial being in R.J. Reynolds' backyard? Did that help you or did that hurt you?
I think it may have helped a little bit because they came out and they could see the product.
Sure.
And NASCAR could bring them to the weekly product. That helped propel it. And then Goody's was a hometown company.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Goody's headache powders, and then they got involved with racing. Texas Pete got involved with racing.
I got to beat on you though, man. Us not having Goody's Dash races there the last few years while the series was going on was heartbreaking. It was my goal in life to be a Dash Series driver. Guys that made it, y'all made it. But yeah, it was always my favorite event every year.
Yeah, so. I mean, it was kind of like the ARCA of the day, though.
It really was.
It was
the stair step.
It was the ARCA it is today. So, and we ran the ARCAs, so you could have called in at that one. So that's your fault.
So let me ask you. You touched on that. What all series have raced at Bowman Gray Stadium over the years, and maybe things that we're not even aware of have raced at Bowman Gray? What all's raced there, Gray?
We've raced basically everything with four wheels as far as the series. They ran midgets way before our time. We ran it was K&N then before.
K&N, yeah.
K&N, we run the Southern.
Ironically enough, Kyle Larson, who just won the championship, set the pole that day.
He did, and back in those days, the K&N, that was a pretty big deal.
Top shelf.
Yeah, because we had Travis Pastrana there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big name. Chase Elliott raced there.
Yes.
Larson raced there.
Yes.
Ben Rhodes raced there. Ben Kennedy.
Yeah, there you go. So heritage. So you had the K&N, which was basically the predecessor to ARCA, Goody's Dash. We obviously had the Cup Series race there, Grand National back in the day.
Sure.
We've had the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour there.
Had the convertible series.
Wow.
Had that. We even raced motorcycles. I don't remember that or not.
I don't remember the motorcycle.
That was the theatrical piece in itself.
We've done Legends cars.
Done Legends.
I do remember seeing Legends cars.
Yeah, because they used to come out and they would race, and there was a guy who had a trucking company, and they come out and completely covered the track with dirt.
Oh, wow.
After the races, and then we're in flat track motorcycle races.
Gracious.
It was awesome.
What year was that? I don't remember that.
Oh, golly, that's going to be probably in the early 70s.
Okay, 73 was my first time there.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah,
so yes.
you was real small, but I mean, they ran flat track motorcycle races, and that was just awesome there.
I spent my first, this is rumor because I was, I don't remember this. I was told that I spent my first night at Bowman Gray Stadium in August of 1973. Tom Parnell was your tire guy then.
Okay.
Was a Goodyear track.
Yes.
And
yes,
my dad worked for Tom Parnell, and he ran the tire truck at Bowman Gray.
Okay.
And I was in a bassinet, and the drivers' wives basically passed me around all night. My mom had to work, told my dad, whatever you do, not take me to the racetrack, and that's where I was at. Been scarred for life ever since.
Yeah.
I still can't leave the place.
I'm kind of the same way. It was there again. My mother was one of them, a handful of daughters and sons and everybody in the family, and everybody sold tickets,
Sure.
So I was the little one running around selling tickets. They had me selling programs at 9 years old.
Gracious.
I mean, that was just to keep me busy.
Right.
I wasn't really
keep you out of trouble, keep you from breaking stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those stories where I really wasn't doing much, but, and all the older cousins, they got to the gates, and they sold people when they come through the gates all the programs. And they said, Gray, you go through the stand and see if you can sell any. Well, everybody already had one.
Right.
And I'm sitting there thinking, man, this is not working. And this gentleman said there one day, he says, young man, you sell anything? No, sir, I'm not selling anything. He says, well, they're buying them before they get in the gate and get her sit down. We've already got one. So that taught me right then and there, I need to go to the people where the money are. So I went outside the gate.
Hey, to the parking lot.
And
There
started
you go.
before you got to the ticket booth. I was selling you a program
Nice.
because I went there before they and I was selling. Then the other cousins got mad because I was
'Cause they
selling
didn't
before
sell
they-
any programs.
Yeah, because I was selling before they got there.
Ingenuity at its finest.
You know, a
right
little
there.
9-year-old kid out there with a puppy face and a pouty lip on.
Yeah,
You know,
I'd buy a program. Absolutely,
you know the
man.
saying was you can't tell ham from spam without a program.
I never heard that. That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good, though.
So, you know, I've done it all. Park cars and just everything over there.
This episode brought to you by Jeff Hill Trailer Sales in Modoc, Indiana. JeffHillTrailerSales.com has got everything you need. Cargo, utility, stacker, full-blown race trailer, whatever you need, Jeff and his crew will get you taken care of. JeffHillTrailerSales.com. Check them out today. This episode brought to you by the 2026 Chili Bowl Nationals. You'll want to find out more, chilibowl.com. There are still tickets available for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and you can buy them online. First time ever, jump on there and get your Chili Bowl tickets. Great seats still remain for the 2026 Chili Bowl Nationals, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 40th anniversary. Don't miss it, chilibowl.com. So a lot of heritage, a lot of stuff's going on there. It's truly one of those staples. History Channel liked it so good. They actually did a reality series about that. You and I both got a chance to work in that.
We did.
It was pretty interesting to see. I think some of the parts, they might have made us a little more redneck than we were. The squalling tire sound effect was a lot of fun. The fake radio chatter was a lot of fun. But overall, I think not that we needed it. Do you think it brought a level of exposure and awareness that maybe we either A, weren't ready for, didn't need, didn't want to have? What was your take overall on the History Channel series?
You know, it's one of those things you really, when that whole thing started, if you got time, I'll go through the whole scenario here.
No.
Real quick.
We'll recap it for sure.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Real quick. Anyway, we had this kid come through and he got out of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Grad student.
Grant Kaler.
Came
Yep.
over in the summer. I will go real quick. And he came over with the camera and said, we want to film this place, craziest place I've ever been. I said, no, go away, leave me alone. Well, he came back again. I want to do it again. I said, okay, go in, just don't get killed. Don't get killed. He did this little trailer. It was really good.
That trailer was bomb. Yeah.
He did the trailer and he said, I'm off to sell it in California, Hollywood. Okay, bye. See you. Good knowing you. You know? And then boom, it happened. I think it was, timing was good to go with it. I think it helped Bowman Gray bring light on weekly racing because you can take weekly racing and you can put whatever your thing is, rodeo, even softball, whatever your sport is, you're passionate about it. And this showed a different aspect because everybody has a car, basically.
Right, absolutely.
Everybody has a car, and it showed these people are racing these cars and they're putting their heart or soul, their life into it. So it brought a lot of attention to the weekly series. Good, bad, or indifferent. It was good. The crowds did, and we still get a residual from it today. I think.
Absolutely.
I think there's people coming today, and they probably people still recognize you from the show.
Obviously, I never left the racing industry, so it's what I do for living with safety equipment, and we still get racers that come up. Man, I missed the show. I wish they'd come back, and I saw this, that, and the other. I'm sure you get some of that from time to time too. So I will tell you, during the time, a funny story. I'm in the Atlanta airport. We'd had about 6 or 7 episodes that had aired, right? And unfortunately, at this point, I'm actually beginning to get recognized in public by people that I don't know, which I found out. My grandfather told me a long time ago, if you have a choice to be rich and famous, just choose rich. Famous ain't no fun. He was not wrong. I'm in the Atlanta airport. I have my hat on, my headphones on. I'm boarding an aircraft. I have my backpack. I'm trying to hide. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a human approaching me in a high rate of speed. And it was a lady about a foot taller than I am and about 2.5 feet wider. And she grabs me and jacks me up. Oh my gosh, it's bad bread. She's like, now everybody's wanting to figure out who to. So she wants my autograph, right? So she finds a Sharpie marker. She has nothing to sign. Autograph my hand. So I signed this lady's hand, right? Signed her hand. That was great. She gets her picture made with me. Now everybody's really suspicious. Like, who is this guy? She takes about 10 steps away. She turns around. She goes, will you autograph my other hand? My sister's a fan too. True story. Absolutely happened.
So when they take showers, they have Ziploc bags in their hands. I
don't know how they're doing that. But yeah, it worked out pretty good. I remember the first night that we were there was a group of, it was like this divorced women's group from Canada, from Ontario that came down. They bought every RH2 shirt shirt that I had the company at the time. We signed autographs, had our picture made. I mean, it was it truly was the first night back a madhouse.
It was scary.
It really was.
It was scary. The fans, the fire marshal wanted to shut us down because we had so many people.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I said, well, how do you shut down an outdoor event? It's not going to catch on fire and burn.
Right.
It was just, nobody knew what to
crowd.
do.
Yeah.
The crowd, when they first did that show, they said, well, if we can get a 0.8 was their goal, their number.
Sure.
I think it was 800,000. Some of the shows were doing 1.2, 1.25.
Right.
So it exceeded everybody's expectations. But that was there again, timing was kind of not a good year because the History Channel had some other home run shows that year.
Pawn Stars hit.
And Picker.
Axemen hit. American Pickers hit.
So
yes.
they had a loaded lineup, and we were kind of the bottom tier of the great big lineup. So but it was great.
Interestingly enough, I did some studying on the Nielsen ratings, which is what they went off of, and it goes off your initial Nielsen rating, and our initial was lower than the initial from the other, but our consistent Nielsen was higher. But they said they only had so many dollars to promote or whatever.
Sure.
It was a fun time. We had a good time.
Like I said, we did it.
Some of those guys accomplished a lot from it. We did it. We were there. Maybe it'll happen again. Who knows? It was a fun time. So, Gray, we talk about crowd and the capacity and all the folks that actually came to Bowman Gray the night, first night, opening night after the TV show aired. And we talk about capacity. And, you hear Flow Racing say one thing and you hear the naysayers. If we packed them in there with a shoehorn, as tight as we could get them, how many humans could we safely put in the stadium?
Depends on if they were 2 foot wider than you or not.
That's true. If it was a lady from the airport,
lady from the airport, it'd be less,
yes.
but half as many. But no, the city advertises it at a 17,000 seat arena.
Okay.
That's what the standard is they say a 17,000 seat arena. Now, naturally, that's butt cheek to butt cheek.
Sure.
We get good crowds opening night, closing night, all through the season. You're going to have some of those nights where it's hot. It's 100 degrees outside.
Chance of rain, whatever it could be.
Chance of rain,
Yeah.
And I think that's where flow has come in and picked up a little bit. It's the 10-step rule. In a lot of cases, 10 steps to the bathroom, 10 steps to the refrigerator.
Yes.
So flow has come in and filled that niche. But it's still a good crowd above an average weekly racetrack.
Gotcha. Now, I've got a lot of race promoters that I'm friends with. In 52 years, I've visited a little over 300 racetracks. I hear both sides of the fence. Obviously, I attend RPM workshops. Joe Scott Nicky does a great job with that.
Sure.
My question for you is, do you feel that streaming services have hurt or helped Saturday night weekly short track racing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I know that's not a great answer.
Do you feel strongly both ways?
I do. I mean, I think it's good to introduce it to the person that may have not seen it. Flow is such a big organization, and they have so much on there that, you can flip through 10,000 channels. I don't know how many they got, but you may flip across it.
Sure.
And then it has also, with it being on Flow and streaming services, there's always been that mystique, is Bowman Gray really what it like besides the Madhouse show?
Sure.
And I think that fills the niche that, they're pretty much like what it was. People running and jumping on cars and grabbing each other.
That does happen from time to time.
It does, and I don't know why, but it does. But it makes great streaming TV.
It really does make for good TV, yes.
So I think the streaming has its niche. Does it hurt you in those nights we just talked about, the thunderstorm nights, the hot nights? Yeah, it does. But is it equally out over the whole season? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Interesting. Last year, I remember Lee Jeffries winning a race, and Lee was talking about one of his sponsors that's in Connecticut or Massachusetts.
Okay.
The guy sponsors it because he sees it on Flow every week.
Great.
So it's pretty nice to see that national reach. And I mean, obviously, the Jeffries family, legendary, been at the stadium forever. Nice to see somebody really benefiting from that. I think we also see some of that with Bert and Citrus Safe.
Sure.
With Tim and, his relationship with the Hunts and what they do with the car. I think everybody has probably tasted a little bit of that success, both from the TV show and now that we are streaming both pieces. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I do hear that some of my Saturday night tracks, Friday night tracks, man, streaming is killing us, streaming is killing us, streaming is killing us. You guys are kind of on an island because you've been doing the same thing in the same place for so many years. I remember a couple years ago, Tim Brown, you guys made a call about Tim, and he decided he wasn't going to run the rest of the year. And he was going to show y'all, and nobody was going to show up. I don't remember much of a deficit in the crowds. Maybe I did. Maybe I just didn't notice it. I know that's happened with other drivers throughout the year, but I think I heard Gray Garrison say this. Paul Radford told us that. Ralph Brinkley told us that. Junior Miller told us that, and we're still racing. We'd love to see you guys next Saturday night.
Yeah, and then they're saying this is I'm never coming back till next Saturday.
Right. Yeah, I've quit 100 times. We've all quit 100 times. Yeah. And then sure enough, Saturday night, we're pulling our haulers back in. That kind of is a great segue. What is your current active role at Bowman Gray? What would be, if I had to give you a job title, what would that job title be today? What are you doing there?
You know, right now, for you that know or don't know, we sold out to NASCAR 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago.
And when you say we, who sold to what to who?
We
want to clear that up. There's a lot of rumors. So.
I'm going to still say the Hawkins family.
Okay.
The Hawkins family.
Sure.
You know, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody.
Okay.
The Hawkins family still sold out. We sold out to NASCAR. I'm still actively involved in a consulting role. The big thing I kind of take care of is competition, make sure the car's still going a circle, try to help with that aspect. I did that last year. This year, I'm under contract till March.
Okay.
We'll see how the cards fold out on that one.
Sure.
But, you know, it's your family. You grew up with these guys. I mean, I grew up with Burt Myers, you know, hiding behind his daddy's car trying to get into the pits.
Sure.
You know, Tim Brown.
He still does that some weeks.
He probably does, you know. And then, you know, you got Tommy Neal. I just go on and on and on.
Yes.
The competitors.
You've watched all of us grow up.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of us are grandpas now, and a lot of us our kids are grown in racing.
Absolutely.
So, you know, like Chase Robertson. You know, Chase is what, third generation.
Absolutely.
So you know, you've seen the generations come along. So it's hard to walk away. There will be that day that I have to walk away or get pushed away, whatever it happens may be. But you know, you have to relish. And I think since the transition, I've been able to stop just a little bit and appreciate more what happened, why you did, because when you're at the front line, you're so busy trying to make sure everything's okay. Tickets are being sold, sponsors are happy, drivers are happy, fans are happy. You know, somebody gets hurt in the stands, you feel responsible for it. You know, in the pit, you're responsible. So no matter what goes on, you feel responsible for it. And I think this is took some of the pressure off of that I can enjoy some of the things when, you know, something happens that I can stand back and watch that guy win a race that's never won before.
Sure.
Mitch Gales this year, great season.
Unbelievable guy, man.
Unbelievable, super nice guy.
Everybody's cheering for Mitch, even his competitors.
Yeah, they are. And everybody says, gosh, I hope he can just hang on. You know,
absolutely.
Top 3 podium at the end of the year. You know,
yeah.
So you can stand back and you can see those things.
Yes.
So that's what I do now, is that I appreciate things more. I still want to be involved with racing. I still think I can bring things to the table.
Sure.
So we'll see how it works out.
Velocita-USA. The world's greatest driving suit. Lighter, faster, better than what you're wearing. Suits, gloves, chutes, helmets, head and neck restraint, everything for your safety program in one location. Check us out online, velocita-usa.com. Give us a call, 336-764-8502. Drive fast, take chances. For all your rodeo and Western lifestyle apparel, check out rocket-donkey.com. That's Rocket Donkey Apparel. You'll see these folks all over the place. You'll even pick them up at the Chili Bowl Nationals. They've got trade show booths at virtually every barrel race in America. Check them out online, rocket-donkey.com. Hey guys, this part of the show brought to you in part by EasySponsorships.com. If you're looking for sponsorship for your race car and running into dead ends and closed doors everywhere, check out EasySponsorships.com and learn from the super sponsor man, Claude Hagerty. He will show you how to find money to go racing. The question that everybody wants to know, and that we've all of us have pondered it or mouthed it, why did we sell to NASCAR?
Well, there's a lot of reasons there. I have 3 daughters, and we never went on vacation during the summer.
You know, ironically enough, that's one of the things. When I saw it, I was in Daytona. I was actually at RPM, and I saw the news, and I reached out. Obviously, Dale and Johnny and I had a relationship for years. Known Dale through some other industries and stuff. And when I saw Johnny, I said, "Are you sad?" And she goes, "I ain't never had a summer vacation." No, I'm not sad.
Yeah, you know, we never went on vacation. You know, the phone was always, you know, back in the days we had answer machines people at the house, you know, and then
Never had any messages, did you?
It was full.
Yeah.
My middle daughter's very vocal. Can I call these people back? And so, no, don't call them
You
back.
should have done it.
Don't call
That would
them.
have been a reality series on
Don't
its
call
own
them
right
back.
there.
You know, it's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah.
But, you know, we didn't go on vacation. We never did anything. We lived racing because racing started when school was out in summer.
Right.
And then when racing through, they were back in school.
Right.
You know, so, and there's just tons of baseball games, you know, all the kids' games you never went and saw. So it got to the point, and the world's changing, and it's hard for us to change. You know, I think it's in good hands with NASCAR, and we know it is. because you look at the future, we can't control a lot of things that are happening really quick.
Sure.
The autonomous cars, driverless cars, electric cars, that world's changing so quick. As a weekly racetrack, we can't keep up with. I think NASCAR can keep up with those items and maybe even bring more to the table with those things. So it was just it was time, we were hard to fight the politics.
Right.
We couldn't fight that anymore, and a lot of the family members were ready to slow down.
What was the stadium? And one of the things, another that had been asked, was the stadium ever publicly for sale? Was Bowman Gray Racing ever publicly for sale? Did it go to a public bid, public auction? Was it put out there for advertisement, or was it just one of those deals? You knew that was the right transition, and y'all made it happen.
We didn't shop it. It was not shopped. It was not for sale. Could we have got more money? Probably, maybe. I don't know. But we felt like that was the best place for it to land. Because NASCAR, there's a sentimental value there because NASCAR is in the racing business.
And there's love there because their forefathers and your forefathers started that. So there's some heritage. There's a seed there that I don't think you're ever going to squish.
No, I don't think so either. And there's just a lot of things that added up to it. Ben Kennedy winning in the K&N race.
Pretty awesome, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. And and the stars aligned that night because Jim France was there and Betty Jane France, and it was just so many things lined up. And so actively, we never shopped it. We never put it on the market. We kind of figured that was the best option. And because it checks so many of the boxes when we got ready to do something,
sure.
Because with Winston-Salem State, it just falls right into their diversity program.
Right.
And it's going back home for the France family. It's going back home for them. So it checked all the boxes. NASCAR wanted to get back to weekly stuff. And what's more weekly than Bowman Gray?
Nothing is more weekly than Bowman Gray.
Yeah, and so as you see that, and then, they knew that because they came and did a tire test. They went to California, raced around a football field.
Stadium, absolutely.
Novel idea. Where did you get that from?
Yeah, can't imagine.
I don't know, but they did. And it just checked the boxes. And so that process was probably a 2.5 year process.
Wow.
Since we started talking, because they have a lot of things they're juggling.
Oh man, unbelievable.
And this was a kind of a small thing on their table, on their things to do. Never fell off the table. They kept bringing it back, but they were so busy, and finally it just fell in place. So I think a lot of it fell in place because the California deal, the contract was up on it.
Sure.
Where are we going to go next? What are we going to do? The stars kind of lined up.
Time kind of worked out.
Yeah.
A great way to kind of segue into, were you at all surprised that we hosted the Clash?
Yeah.
You felt like it would be there eventually one day anyhow?
Yeah. I think that was part of the selling ticket because it worked so good at California.
Oh, it really did. It really
worked
did.
it good because it was just such a different thing.
But do you feel it's even better now that it's back in the heart where it really belongs?
I think it's hard for me to say that it's better or worse because I don't know. If I was in charge of the Clash, oh my gosh, we'd be drawing, we'd be doing a cone, we'd start backwards, we'd run forwards, we'd run across the infield. We'd
backwards, I'd be down for.
We would be doing so many things to be entertainment, but then again, they have to keep the narrow lines because they have to answer to networks, they have to answer to lawyers, they have to answer to all these other people.
Right.
We are in the entertainment business with no boundaries.
Right.
At the weekly level, really, we're no boundaries.
Sure.
They have parameters they have to work with. So they've done a good job with it. Personally, I wish they would step out of the box a little bit more. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but I wish they would try to do something a little different, make things happen a little better.
I thought it was kind of neat that we did accompany them with the modifieds last year. I thought that was a nice intro show for them.
It was, and I think that was a lot of things that Joey Denowitz, kind of was really harping on, and Joey's over the weekly racing series and a lot of things.
Very visible too. We see him at the track on a fairly regular basis,
and that was the thing.
And that's the first time I remember seeing that in a long time.
It is, and Joey's an ex-racer, and there again, you get it in the blood, you never get out of it. Because Joey will come to the track and somebody will hit the wall and he'll say, well, why'd that guy drive into the wall? Why did he do that? And I said, well, you drive. Why did you do it different? He said, I've done different things too. So, but I think he wanted to keep it the nostalgia. I think if he had his way, we'd probably kept the old guardrail. but the lawyers got in the way.
I'm going to say that I miss the old guardrail. I can't confirm or deny. In this building, there may be a piece of that guardrail, which was kind of a cool piece of heritage. It will wind up in the showroom. We just haven't gotten it done yet. But
I think there was a lot of pieces of guardrail got out there. A lot of people are good friends with Jimmy Brown when he started taking guardrail.
Jimmy, don't seem to know. The name doesn't ring a bell. I wouldn't know who that is.
Jimmy became a lot of people's friends when the guardrail started coming down. But I think they wanted to keep that weekly feel.
Sure.
And that's the reason they tried to keep. We had the scoreboard,
right? The
grass. They didn't put a wall around the inside of the track,
right?
We had the bleachers. We don't have the back seats.
Sure.
Those things. They did bring some up the modern things for people, but it's still the stadium. I mean, you can change the lights.
It's still the stadium. And they did, and they're incredible, by the way.
Yeah, they are. They did a good job on that.
The Musco folks are out of this world.
They are. You can change everything, but you can't change the stadium. I don't care what you do. You're not going to change.
We're still racing around a football field.
We're racing around the football field.
Yeah.
So, and that's something I think that they were pleasantly surprised, and that it was a better show than what they thought.
And it really was a good show at the end of the day. So we had the clash. We saw that. All that went down. Do you think this opens the door for us to maybe see an O'Reilly's race there now, or maybe a truck race? Or could we see ARCA there? Could the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, since there's no more North and South, could we potentially see some of this in the future?
I think everything's on the table. I think NASCAR is, they will look at all the options and they will play everything out. If it checks the boxes, makes sense, they'll do it. I mean, I think that, they want, I think it was proven that you can race there. I mean, Blaney started last and finished second.
Sure.
And then the modified, Chris
started last and won it.
So it shows you can race there.
Absolutely.
And the crowds was turning out, no problem. So I think the door's wide open to have something different and things. And, they didn't do it just for the clash.
Sure.
I think they're in it for the long haul.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the obstacles and the things that you guys face. You've touched on some of those. We had a lot of improvements this year. What would you say week in and week out has been some of the toughest challenges that you guys have had?
Toughest on me personally, or is it the stadium itself?
We've got you sitting in the hot seat today, so let's talk about Gray Garrison.
Well, I'm kind of a control freak. It's hard to let go of a lot of stuff.
Really? I would have never known.
You never know. You never know. It's not that I'm a control freak. It's just I see all the pictures.
Sure.
At least I think I do. Everything, when you make a decision, it's like throwing a rock on the water. It has a big ripple when it starts, but it keeps rippling and rippling. So if you make a decision to begin with, it spreads out and keeps going. So I think that's one thing. It's hard for me to let some of the things go because it's not that I'm that smart. It's just that I've screwed them things up before.
Sure.
And
the best way to learn how not to do it is to do it wrong.
Yeah, that's just it. It's not like, I've messed it up before. I've been down that path and I had to get myself out of the situation. So a lot of those things, when I say these things and try to, push in that direction, it's because I've really screwed it up in a lot of different things. And that's been hard to let some of those things go. It's hard to, and I'm old school, it's hard as an older person to see the new modern things.
Sure.
It's hard to let those things go, but things revolve, and
Changing
I get
of
that.
the times. It is what it is.
It is. I get that. So, and as far as the stadium itself, the challenges are still there. You have to deal with the city. You still have to deal with the university. Not that they're bad to deal with.
Sure.
It's just another thing you have to make sure they're content.
Everybody's taken care of.
And everybody's taken care of.
Because you can't actually pop in there on a Tuesday afternoon and do a tire test. There's actually offices in that building that are running Monday through Friday, and you can't just go in there and blast through that.
Exactly. And we've been, through all these years, we've been like a bunch of little nomads. We come in, we race on Saturday, we fold everything up.
Pack everything up and go.
Pack everything up, stick in the building, and we go home.
And I think that's the unique thing about the stadium is we don't have a tech building.
Nope.
We don't have a tire shed.
Right.
We don't have a fuel facility. We don't have any of those things there. You're exactly right. And we roll in kind of like the carnival. I never really thought about that. You said that. We kind of roll in like the carnival or the circus.
Yep.
We do our show and then we pack up and we leave. I don't know any other track in America that does that.
No, they don't. And I think that's the uniqueness part of it. Because it kind of makes it like it's a part-time thing versus a full-time thing.
Sure. Part-time for 76 years, though?
Yeah, part-time. Yeah. But then again, I think some of the strong strengths. Now, you asked me what the challenges were. I'm going to tell you what some of the strong, what made the thing strong. Short season.
Sure, very.
I think that makes it strong because a racer's going to go broke in 18 weeks.
You're not wrong.
You know, he's going to spend his money.
Sure.
So I think, you know, we're saving him my money running 18 weeks.
I don't know that they all appreciate that, but you're probably not wrong.
Yeah, you know, and I think we're probably the only track in the country that takes off the 4th of July.
And, you know, and I've always noticed, I raced my first race there in 1990, Buzz Bombers, I think y'all effectively called it. I've never seen us, it always says on the calendar, July 4th, available as a rain date. Mm-hmm. Since I've been alive, have we done that?
No. Well, no, we haven't. But I mean, you know, not saying we won't. That's one thing I hope NASCAR doesn't change.
Sure.
Is run that 4th, because traditionally that's a big event for a lot of tracks.
Indeed.
The 4th of July week.
Right.
But you know, we would get the calls and the schedules from the drivers' wives in December.
We need a break, man.
No, well, they start calling December. We're planning our vacation. When is the 4th of July break? Is it the week before the 4th, the week after the 4th?
Yeah.
They were planning that vacation. And I think it recharges the batteries for everybody, you know, the family. And I think the families appreciate that. They get taking that break, that time off. And we've learned, too, with a short season, and you've been around racing forever today, you know, 18 weeks, they don't sound like much. But here in North Carolina, you know, Texas, you take wherever you want to go. When football starts, the mindset changes.
Absolutely. College and high school football absolutely upsets the apple cart.
It does. And, you know, and then mom and daddy, grandma and grandpa, aunts and uncles, they're going to go watch little Johnny play football.
Absolutely.
Or little Cindy cheer or play in the band. So that mindset changes. And when that mindset changes, racing's going to take a dive.
Sure.
And it's the same thing with when I say football, and that happens at all levels. You know, when NASCAR, the bigger level, starts going head to head with the NFL, it's tough.
It does make it tough.
It's
well,
tough.
You're competing for that entertainment dollar and that entertainment attention,
Absolutely.
whatever that may be, and you're exactly right. I also heard a lot of people have said this, that you guys had 3 things going for you no other racetrack in America had. Location, location, location. You're between Interstate 40, Business 40, and Interstate 52, and we're as close to downtown as any racetrack I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but besides the one around L.A., I guess.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Chicago downtown was pretty close.
Well, that was a street race.
Yeah, but it's race.
Weekly racing, Gray. Weekly racing.
Okay,
We're back to weekly racing.
Weekly
yes.
racing. Yeah, I mean, you know, and I think that's a good thing too, because it's, you know, you have 52, 40, which are 2 major roads coming right by there.
Sure.
And so that's a good thing. You know, plenty of parking, free parking's a good.
Easy to get to. What kind of parking?
Free parking.
Say that one more time.
Free.
They do not charge to park 17,000 people, which we can't park quite that many, but we don't charge to park at Bowman Gray. Now, we do get creative with parking sometimes, and sometimes we wind up in places that we shouldn't, but we do have free parking at Bowman Gray and an awful lot of it.
Yeah, let me circle back to the not 4th of July race. That wasn't like a brainchild. That's something we came up with. That came up with back in the day in the city of Winston-Salem. You had the big employers. You had R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company and Haynes Hosiery. And what would happen was those factories shut down over the 4th to retool the machines.
Yeah.
So everybody left town. So there's no need to race.
Nobody to put
nobody was in town to race.
Fair enough.
So that's how the 4th of July break got started.
It sounded more wholesome when you were supporting families, but
I know. I was supporting the families going on vacation, but it is. But that's how things happen. That's why I say the more so long things don't change is it's happened for a reason.
Gotcha.
And that was one of those reasons why.
Gotcha. This episode brought to you in part by Schoenfeld Headers, Van Buren, Arkansas, all the way back to Daddy Schoenfeld, building the best headers for all types of racing. If you need headers for your race cars, SchoenfeldHeaders.com. Check them out online or at any of their thousands of retailers nationwide. This episode brought to you by Bassett Racing Wheels. Whether you're looking for a 15-inch inertia wheel, rolled edge, armor edge protection, whatever it is that you need, DOT, IMCA, Bassett Racing Wheel has you covered. Bassett Racing Wheels is the leader in short track wheels nationwide. BassettWheels.com for all your racing wheel needs. This portion of our show brought to you by Woodleaf Raceway Park, right on Facebook. Check out the world's greatest dirt go-kart track with a focus on kids and family. They have un-go-karted go-kart racing. Jeff Freeman and his staff work tirelessly to make sure your kids are safe and having a great time. Check them out on Facebook at Woodleaf Raceway Park. Change gears a little bit. So one of the suspicions or rumors is Bowman Gray has its favorite drivers. You prefer this person. You prefer that person. You make a call this way. You make a call that. Have you ever heard any of these rumors before?
I do, and I do have my favorites. There's about 100 plus every week.
They've all retired, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think the thing of it is that I'll tell this to anybody. You know, there's different levels of racers at Bowman Gray, and there isn't any track. And you know, somebody asked me a question: is what is winning? Okay, so if you're some drivers, winning is actually taking the checker flag first.
Correct.
That's winning. Some guys' goal is to finish that top 10 in points.
We have one of those that works here.
That's their goal.
Yes.
Top 10 in points. We've got some drivers that come up to me before and says, my goal is to finish on the lead lap.
Awesome.
And that's their goal. So if they finish on the lead lap, they won.
Sure.
You know, and if you can help them win and or achieve whatever their goals are, then I think you're successful. You know, because it's important to them, if it's important enough to them to work on a car, to come over and verbalize that's their goal. You win if you help them win.
Sure.
You know, you do.
And that's absolutely promoter mentality and probably why it's been happening for 70 plus years. So,
well, maybe so. I don't know. But, you know, I mean, do I have favorites? No, I don't. Do I like to see a good race? Absolutely.
We all do.
Do I like to see two people, you know, have it out? Absolutely. I want to see them do it. But I also want to see that guy finish on the lead lap.
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. So you can't necessarily align with favorites, and obviously we've had a lot of history go through there. A lot of great racers that have gone on to do great things, and you're like, man. I mean, do you ever just kind of reminisce and go, man, I remember when he was racing at Bowman Gray, or I remember when he came and did this or came and did that. Do you ever have those aha moments?
With today's people, not as much. I do remember when I was younger, like you.
Sure.
I was there when Richard Petty won his 100th race.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember when Ned Jarrett came there and he had a car on a rollback and one on a trailer. That guy had two race cars. That's the most awesome thing I ever seen.
To have two at the same
a
place.
A guy had two cars painted alike. He had two race cars. And I can still remember the days, some of the older people remember when Richie Evans would come down.
Sure.
Jerry Cook would come
Yeah,
down,
absolutely.
and they would bring another motor with them. You know, this guy had two motors.
He's a baller. He's big money, man. Big money, yeah.
You know, so, you see those kind of things. Sure. Is somebody going to go big time at Bowman Gray? Probably not. They're probably not because they get in that mentality that they're the big fish in the small pond.
Sure.
Is it the talent level there? Absolutely, the talent level.
100%. But I don't know that the talent and the ability to write that check is there. And I say that on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, you and I are old enough. I remember cup racing. If you weren't 40 years old, you hadn't earned the right to run a cup car. If you're 40 years old now, you're retiring.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
we've gone now from the talent scout. We've gone from Richard Childress, who's right down the road, having a guy sitting in the stands watching for the next up-and-coming guy. Now they're waiting on the phone call that, hey, we've got $32 million worth of funding next year. That's unfortunate to see.
It is, but that happens at the weekly level too. And that's one thing that we can't change. And, we kind of saw the handwriting on the wall that we need to do something because we can't change what's happening.
Sure.
Today these guys, everybody buys parts and bolts it on.
Yeah.
Nobody makes anything.
We're not fabricating anymore.
We're not. Everybody bolts the things on, and the new younger generation is coming on. And the younger generation, nothing against them, a lot of talent there, but their mindset and their respect level and all that's a little different too. It's a little different too. But I think they come there for a while, then they get their attitudes adjusted real quick.
So you obviously don't have a favorite, or if you do, you can't say, and I understand. Past retired drivers or drivers that have gone on, in your opinion, who was the best old timer you ever saw come through there, in your opinion, or started there and went on, and you're like, wow, man, that guy really was somebody? Who would you say it was? Yeah. Old timers.
Well, it's old timers. We had some that really could have went some places. We had a driver there, Brent Elliott.
Yes.
Brent.
Yeah. I actually drove for Brent. When I started racing modifieds, I drove for Brent. Was my hero. Absolutely.
Yeah. Brent came over and sat on the modified. He was a threat for the pole every week. He built a cup car. He went cup racing, didn't have the checkbook, as you say, but made races at
Wilkesboro,
yeah,
and ran really good at Wilkesboro.
He finished.
Yes.
He went some places. We had Satch Worley that went up and did the modified Northern Tour.
Did really well.
Had some very successful things up there. A lot of talent level there. Checkbook not there.
Sure.
But today's time, if a guy wants to go, Race at Bowman Gray a couple years, get used to it, but you need to move on if that's your thing. I don't want you to move on because I like the hometown.
I'd like to
hero.
have him there.
But if you're going to do it, you need to go.
So you threw a couple out. You threw Satch out. You threw Brent out. That's pretty awesome. They kind of got me with Brent there. I drove my first modified for Brent. That was really awesome. You remember the Grubbs Marine, the Should Have Gone Boating Award?
Yes.
We had co-op dollars, and I had always thought Brent was great. And Brent ended up with all of our co-op dollars. He'd never been sponsored that well in his whole life, so I got an opportunity to drive a modified. It was great. Today, when you look over there, if you had to pick a handful of drivers, who are you impressed with what you see? Who do you feel like is the whole package when you look out there right now? Not that they're your favorites, but when you look at it, you've got a lot of time there. You've been around a lot of racers. Who do you see that catches your eye today?
Well, of course, Chase Robertson comes to the front. I mean, Chase had a phenomenal year running at Bowman Gray. Kid's young. He's smart. He's a good, smooth driver. I think we got a couple coming on that are going to be forces to deal with after they get settled a little bit. Riley Neal. Riley's he's still getting adjusted to the modified, and he's a little too aggressive. And we had Junior Snow this year. Junior won some races. Slate Myers, Bert's son, little young yet. He started a little later than a lot of them. Sure. I think he'll get there. He just needs to back it down a notch or two, maybe a little too aggressive. He'll back it down. Those are, but then there's some through all the divisions. Right. You got Billy Gregg's son coming on. Nate's a great talent. He can drive a car. He's a wheel man. So there's a lot of them out there that can really drive the cars. It's just, are they going to put the dedication into it to stick with it? A lot of them don't have the checkbook. Sure. But do they have the dedication to try?
Committed to do it, working. Yeah. So we've got 4 very distinct divisions. Well, let's say we have 3 distinct divisions, and there's some mud between what we call sportsman and street stock. Our top division is the NASCAR Modifieds, the fastest weekly sanctioned cars. We run those there on a weekly basis under the NASCAR rule book. Mm-hmm. Our next division down is our sportsman division. For those who don't know what a sportsman car is, how would you describe, if you were on an airplane flying to Hawaii and somebody said, what's a sportsman car, how would you describe that to them?
It's a sportsman car is a General Motors motor, comes from the factory General Motors. It's like a Chevrolet car, full body, full fenders, 4 wheels. It's a car like you drive on the street, but it's not. It supposedly mimics the street car that you race, that you drive on the street. So it's the Camaro or it's those type body styles. That's what I would say the sportsman is. I would call it, if you go like single A, double A, triple A, it would be triple A at weekly racing at Bowman Gray.
Would you call that comparable to a late model of some type?
I think so. We consider that very much our late models.
Okay.
Because you take the sportsman at Bowman Gray and they can run with any late model out there, as far as capabilities and talent levels.
Now, the street stock car, to the untrained eye,
yeah.
If you had a black number 1 sportsman car, no stickers on it, and you had a black street stock car number 1 and you parked them at the start-finish line, how can I tell the difference?
You probably couldn't today. Today's things, the evolution, you can't. Because there again, everybody buys parts and bolts and on. They buy the same bodies, they bolt the same bodies on. Years ago, you could, because there was that difference in the little older cars, the full steel bodies. Those guys kind of took the hand-me-downs from the
and those were inline 6-cylinders back in the day.
Back in the day, inline 6-cylinders, and some people don't know that's all the spark plugs are in a row.
Right. Yeah. Very long motors. Very noisy, but not very fast. But that's okay. Yeah. And then we run. We now are stadium stock. Right. Which are compact 4-cylinders, and arguably probably the most relatable car to what people drive today, because about all of us have a 4-cylinder compact car of some kind, which is heartbreaking to me why the Dash series went away. Probably would be today, in my opinion, the most relatable series to what we actually drive, because subcompact 4-cylinders are compact 4-cylinders. And you've got probably your biggest division, is that correct?
Yeah, some of the good nights we can have 30 cars in that one division. On a lot of nights we can have over 100 cars there racing.
And we split that. If you have too many cars, like in your stadium stock, you'll split that up and run an A race, B race kind of thing.
A race, we go by points. The top half in the points race the A race. Bottom half of points race the B race.
Gotcha. And we talked briefly about favorite drivers, and you kind of gave us some of those. Any least favorite drivers you can share with us?
I think everybody has their moments. It's not their favorites. I mean, you can't categorize people, least favorite or favorites or whatever, because you hit me on some nights, I don't like nobody over there.
I understand.
You know,
Yeah.
some nights
You're not feeling peoply today.
no,
Yes.
I'm not. Some nights over, just leave me alone right now. You know, I need to just, you know, I get riled up sometimes too, but I have to keep my composure because I've got to talk to explain to somebody why we did what we did.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's not that they're my least favorite or favorite. It's just that some people have their moments more so, you know?
Sure.
It's just like your kids. Anybody that's got kids, one of your kids does something you don't like, well, you're just not quite my favorite
Right now, I still love you, but man.
Yeah, I love you, but you just, you know.
How difficult is it some weeks to have to make those tough calls?
It's hard sometimes. I think the toughest decisions over there, safety's number one.
Sure.
Okay, safety's number one. Fans, competitors, everybody's safety's number one. And the tough call is like when a guy gets a fender ripped off and there's 5 to go and he hasn't led a race all year or something like that. And, you know, you pull him because he's worked hard. You want him to see him do good. And you hate to black flag somebody, but then there's that safety thing. What if a piece does come off and fly into the stands?
Sure.
That's the tough call. That's the very tough call. Safety oriented. You want the people to be successful, and it's hard. You can't do both sometimes.
Absolutely. How difficult do you find it to keep the playing field level amongst competitors all the way through? There's always been controversy about tire soaking. There's been controversy about engines being this or misrepresented, so on and so forth. There's been controversy about cars being light, this, that, and the other. How difficult is it to keep the playing field level? And do you find that the competitors do a pretty good job of policing themselves?
It's impossible to keep them competitive. Reason being is you have 1,000, you know, not 1,000, but you have hundreds and hundreds of people out there making things that go faster because some guy has a motor product, he wanted to be the best, everybody can buy it. So these hundreds and thousands of people out there building these products, and there's only a handful of us to police it
Sure.
and handle it. So it's truly impossible. We do the best we can. I think in general, the officials we have do good. They do pretty good. And I think in general, most of the competitors know the limits. They will try to do the limits sometime and cross the boundary, but there's always that fear that they will get caught.
Sure.
So now, as far as competitors policing themselves, yeah, I think they do police themselves.
They're not afraid to tell you some stuff, are they?
No, they won't. They won't. They'll point some things out real quick.
How often do you get erroneous information? How often do they bear false witness?
Well, they're human beings, right? So they, you know, they want you. They will tell you things about, you know, Brad Smith's doing this, doing that,
Sure.
and the other, because they want me to go look at Brad's car, not looking at theirs.
Right.
So they'll tell you.
By the way, we finished 5th once this year, so
Well,
we're not fast, but that's okay. We have a good time, so
yeah,
yes.
but I mean, they will tell you different things because they want to throw you away from them.
Right.
And sometimes people will do things that are very basic, illegal things. So you look at that, and you say, okay, I caught him with that, and go look at something else.
Right.
And he'll lead you off balance because he didn't really want you to look at what was really in the whole package.
Sure.
He wanted you to find something so you can say you found something and went to do something different.
Correct. I do remember one night at the scales, I was a much younger man. I didn't have any gray hair. And I remember one night at the scales, I finished second or third, and the vehicle in front of me was on the scales, and it was like 450 pounds light. And they had called you over there. And Robert didn't have gray hair either, by the way. So that's how long ago this was. And he was just livid mad. And he was telling you how much it weighed at home. And I remember you looking at him, and you were red-faced, and you said, I don't care what it weighs at your house. We don't race in your backyard.
Yeah. I mean, those scales, everybody goes across the same scales.
Same stuff. So in some of the questions that come up, last year, one of Bert's guys got suspended for 10 weeks or maybe 12 weeks over a tire thing. What is that about? Not necessarily that incident. What is the magic with tires, and what do you feel like, or what do we feel like modified drivers are attempting to do with this tire thing?
Well, you know, they're trying to manipulate the tire itself, make it softer. Softer tire is faster tire. Okay. In layman's term, it's, you know, it sticks better. The better it sticks, the faster I can go. Yeah, there was some issues going on there. I think the officials caught it. There again, when you start getting into that tire soaking thing, it gets in the real gray area again because of some of these guys are using probably chemicals they shouldn't be using. So there again, it may become a safety issue as much as
you're saying that racers potentially colored outside the lines.
with a big crayon, with a paintbrush.
Way over the line. So, and that brings up the next question. Is that the reason that you don't want chemically enhanced tires? Is because it could be bad?
It's not safe for anybody. I mean, it's not safe for it cannot be. They're using, some people are using products. Some people are using products that are okay as far as chemically and safeness and harmful, but some are just using any and everything.
Sure.
They're throwing enough stuff at the wall, trying to find something new, something different. So, but then again, you wanted a even competitive playing field too. So that one's a toughie right there to keep.
How do you police that? How do you make sure across the board? Because it wasn't just the modifieds this year. You guys checked some tires in Sportsman as well.
We did.
Check some tires in Street Stock. How do you police that? How do you make sure that that's being taken care of?
Well, there's some new people out there, really not new, but there's some people now that can do some chemists that can really come up with some, they get the compounds of a basic flat line, baseline product.
I think they call it the benchmark currently.
The benchmark, right. Yes. They get that. Then if they run this other product and it's going up over the benchmark down below, then there's something going on.
Gotcha.
So that technology has increased as much as the soaking technology has increased.
Sure.
So that one's really kind of coming together, peaking together now. So,
and I think what I liked or what I have seen about that is the test doesn't say the tire on the 46 car is illegal. It says it does not comply to the benchmark, whatever that means. Now, as a promoter, the competition director, I guess as you are, it's up to you to make a determination of what we do next.
Right, it is, and that's pretty much a gray. That's not a whole lot of gray area in that one. If it didn't hit the benchmark, as you say, it didn't hit it.
Right, absolutely.
So there's not a lot of gray in that one.
Now this year, it appears that late in the season, a lot of controversy on motors, a lot of controversy on tires. Why was the timing, in theory? Why did you guys wait as late as you did to begin inspecting engines and checking tires?
Well, it kind of came down to it. We've been telling people, okay? Now, we just didn't come in and just, started, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. The official, Rick Hunter, came in there, and he went to the driver's meeting probably 3 weeks in advance, and he carried in a stock rod, piston, and stock components, laid it on the table at the driver's meeting, said, gentlemen, this is what I expect you to run in the future. Mm-hmm. Some of y'all are getting way above the gray area. We've got to reel it back in. This is what I expect y'all to run. He gave them several weeks' notice. And I think everybody called our bluff. They didn't think we would do it. And finally got to the point and we said, okay, we're calling the bluff. We want to check them. It wasn't like we just came in 1 week and decided to do it. We gave them fair warning. The same thing with the tires. Said, okay, gentlemen, you're getting a little far out of the bound, coloring out the lines, as you say.
Sure.
You're getting a little far out there. Be prepared. If we check them in the future, don't get too excited because we're warning you right now, we may check them. And then we did check them.
Sure.
So it ain't like we come in and just threw the axe down and said, you're out, you're out, you're out. We told you what was coming.
So the rule necessarily never changed. Maybe the time and way it was enforced possibly changed? Or at least awareness thereof?
Well, it didn't, that didn't change either. We told you what was coming up, and we if you were running this straight up product, you didn't have nothing to worry about.
Sure.
If you had the product that wasn't legal, then you have something to worry about.
Sure.
So I think it kind of opened some eyes. I think it kind of, made people realize, well, maybe we need to really figure about this a little bit more, what we're doing.
Did you guys, during that time, did you find tires that didn't comply?
Yes, we did.
Did we find engines that didn't comply?
Yes.
Do we have, in your mind, you're the guy who absolutely is the kind of the gauntlet on that. Do we have a solid plan going into 2026?
We do. I think we got a real good plan going into 2026. The main goal we have at Bowman Gray is not, we don't want to find you illegal, and we don't want to make you spend money you don't have. We don't want you to waste any products. We don't want you to do anything. And I think going into this season, we're probably going to announce it here in the next week or so. We'll come out, we're not going to make you waste what you got.
Sure.
You may not be at a competitive advantage, which you shouldn't be because you're the one that colored outside of the lines.
Sure.
We didn't make you color out there. But you may be at a disadvantage, but you're not going to throw away what you got.
Right.
You can still run it. That's your choice. Then you can go back to like what our rules say. And there again, we have an alternate from what the rules say as stock, because what's happened is General Motors, basically we run all the General Motors products.
So ultimately for our racers, we'll get this. Yeah. 602, 603, 604 are the crate designators that we acknowledge. You guys only really acknowledge the 02 and the 03. 03 currently discontinued, but
Correct.
There are, not OEM, but there are aftermarket replacement parts that could comply within the rules.
Right, and that's what we're doing, and we're going to let you run these aftermarket replacement parts. So what's happened to us is there again, like your General Motors, is a crate mode. What do you mean by a crate? Is you buy it and it's a box.
It's in a wrapper.
Yeah, it's box and a crate, and you bolt it in your car and you go racing.
Sure.
But what's happened is General Motors has got smart. If you build a refrigerator that never quits, you never sell another refrigerator.
Right. Didn't Maytag do that back in the day, apparently? Yes.
Yeah. So now GM's building this motor that's supposed to be bulletproof, and they're not selling a lot of motors, so they've got to change their business model.
Sure.
So they discontinue this one and make this one a little bit better, a little more expensive, and that type of stuff. So there again, we're not trying to make anybody waste what they've got. We want you to use it up. Eventually, we're going to have to go to the new rules, to the new product.
Sure.
We're going to have to buy the new refrigerator eventually. So, but we want you to use the one you got up to it doesn't work anymore.
That was extremely diplomatic. That was very indirect, and that was great. I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
All right.
For these crate engine guys, now modifieds would be excluded, and we both acknowledge we'd love to see a crate engine combination for the 4-cylinder guys, but who knows where that's going to come from. So we're basically talking about our street stock and our sportsman guys. Do you potentially see in the future those two divisions on the same engine platform? Platform, maybe not carburation bolt-on, but do you eventually see them both on the same platform?
I think we'll see them on both on the same platform because, there again, you look at economics.
Easier to tech.
Easier to tech. You got this. And when you have them on the same platform, now there will be some differences.
There should be.
In weights, carburation. One division needs to go faster, have more power than the other one.
Is what it is.
Yeah, you want some differences in there. Probably will be a little bit of different to the average fan to see that one's a little slower, but probably not notice the difference.
Sure.
The drivers will. But then again, that also gives that driver that's running, like you say, I know you're going to the 602, which is probably what we're going to the future for the sportsman and the street. But it gives that street driver a chance to move up to the sportsman.
Without spending a ton of money.
Sure. He can do the transition up to that by putting a couple of bolt-on products, some weight, carburation. He can do the bolt-on products in that, and he can move up the division.
Sure.
So that's kind of the ultimate goal. And I think we're going to, what we've got is a pretty good package this year. And then 27, we're setting the groundwork for 27 also. So I think we got some good packages coming.
So one of the other things that's come up is
there's a hot seat at all.
Well, I'm not done with you yet.
Oh, okay.
So the other topic of conversation that's come up, especially for that group of people, is tires.
Yes.
So those two crate engine divisions run the American Racer tire. The modifieds run the Hoosier tire. The stadium stocks run the Hoosier tire. Will we see a tire change?
Not in 26. I don't think so in 26. The products we have are really good products. And I like the 2-tire scenarios. Reason being was that we had a problem, the supply chain after 2020, nobody had tires.
Correct.
It was, I don't know why nobody had tires, but nobody had tires. And a lot of tracks weren't racing because they couldn't get tires. And with the 2-tire tier system that we have, if somebody came to me and says, okay, we can't get this tire, you're going to have to cancel races. Well, no, I'm going to these other person. They got plenty of tires. And miraculously, this other group got tires all of a sudden.
So, yeah, right.
So when you have an alternative, and that's what we try to do. Basically, everything we do over there, it's not called redundancy. It's a backup plan.
Sure.
So you try to have a backup plan. And I don't see us change. I wouldn't change, from the American Racer. It's a good product. The drivers, they're manipulating it. They're trying to go faster, and that's what they should do.
You sure they're manipulating that tire?
Well, they're trying to manipulate the tire.
Maybe.
But, and that technology's changing. They're buying microwave ovens and sticking tires in microwave ovens, and they're doing this and doing that. So there again, it's hard to keep up with.
Absolutely.
And if you say this tire's costing me a lot of money, I'm not changing the tire. You are.
Right.
You're the one that's making the tire expensive.
Sure.
I'm not making it expensive.
Do you feel like with policing the tire and sampling them, as you guys have discussed, do you feel like that will maybe get guys maybe closer in line? And some of the races that we saw this year, two races I remember specifically this year in Sportsman, you probably remember, 2 black race cars, different drivers, did not win their respectable events that night. It was obliteration. I think both those cars could have been top 5 in the modified that night. They probably couldn't have, but it was beyond impressive. I know one of those gentlemen, I think, was disqualified. The other one makes his living doing some things for other racers to help them go fast. Do you think by policing the engines, by policing the tires, by sampling like you've talked about, do you think it'll tighten the field up, potentially like we saw 08, 09, 2010 when the crate motors first started?
I think it'll tighten the field up, but then again, you got to keep in mind the people that work the hardest, that are more inventive, and do their homework and will always come to the top.
I'll always have.
You know, you can take if you put everybody on the exact same thing, you're gonna get the same ones going to the top. So if you slow everybody down 20 miles an hour, this one comes to here, but this one from here goes to here. Excuse me, there. You know, they go down. So it's I think it will even the field for a while.
Sure.
Until they figure out how to get it back apart. And then you got to reel it back in because it's never going to stop. It's never going to change. They're going to keep trying to do something.
Right, right, absolutely. So as we talk about that, is there a possibility of a new division at Bowman Gray? We've heard rumblings of a 602 modified. We've heard rumblings of other things that could happen there. Do you see in the next 3 to 5 years the possibility of an added division, a division going away, a transfer, a change?
You know, I don't know. I don't think that'll be my decision on that. I mean, Austin Shuford, the general manager, will probably have to make that decision. Right now, we don't have a place for it. I mean, you know, we've got 100-plus cars. We're running 30-some four-cylinders. We had like 28, 29, 30 modifieds.
And we have a curfew. They don't understand.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have to be done by 11:30.
Right.
There's really not anywhere in the current program we have to put somebody. Now, I'm not saying that it won't happen in the future, because if everybody in the, you know, we're running 18, 20 Sportsman, 18 whatever street. If all these go over and we only have 7 or 8 street cars, then, you know, maybe we need to take a look at it. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Right now, there's nowhere to park another car in the pits.
No, it's very, very full. And everybody's hauler's gotten bigger. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that.
Everybody's hauler's getting bigger.
You're not going to save racers money, because if you try to save
We're
money,
going to spend it in places that you can't help us. So, yeah.
you know, they're like Ned Jarrett. Everybody has 2 cars now.
Yeah, or Richie Evans with an extra motor, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not going to make them save money. They're going to spend it. Only thing you try to do is make them spend it wisely.
Sure. Now, Bowman Gray's got an interesting format. Only our modifieds qualify. And they basically start heads up for the qualifying, except for some of the special events. I think you guys do, what, a 6-pill invert for the, 100 lap. Well, 100 lap is a full field draw after we qualify.
Full field draw.
On our 199 and our 150.
Straight up.
Is it straight up?
The opening night, the 200, and the season ending 150 straight up.
Okay.
What we mean by straight up is you start like you qualify.
Okay. And then weekly, our Madhouse Scramble, we run twin 25s.
Correct.
And it's straight up. And then the winner draws a pill, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16.
Numbers, yes.
And that is whoever finished in that spot will start on the pole for the next race, and an invert from that back. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Street stock, Sportsman, Stadium stock do not. Explain their format.
Total draw.
Total draw for the feature?
Yes.
Yeah. So, a lot of guys don't like that, right?
Well, you know, if you talk to a racer wants to qualify.
Every week.
Qualify every week, start on the pole, lead every lap, win the race.
Yeah.
That's their mentality.
What is wrong with that?
You know, our mentality is we want you to start at the back and pass as many cars as you can to get to the front.
I think, you know who figured that out really good?
Who's that?
Ronnie Clifton.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best ever.
Yeah,
he really figured that out.
And you know, you just put, if you've got 24 cars, you put 24 numbers in a hat, you draw, and that's where you start the race. And it works out. I mean, traditionally it kind of works out. Some guys feel like they get the bad end of the stick.
Sure.
But overall, the whole season, it kind of balances out. It really does. They won't admit it, but it does. It balances out.
So, and we like I said, I brought up Ronnie, 8 or 9 time champion in a division that you draw in every week with numerous wins. Tommy Neal's 70-some wins. Tim Brown, which Tim and Burt, their deal, their 100 wins are their qualifying wins, and they're both fast cars. So every week they got a legitimate shot. But when you go back and you look at guys who've won tons of races, Chase Robertson. You go back and you look at Tommy Neal. You go back and you look at Ronnie Clifton. You go back and you look at Zach Clifton. These guys drew for those positions in most cases and won all those races. That's pretty stinking impressive. Oh, wait. On a racetrack that you can't pass on and can't race on.
This is true. But, Ronnie Clifton had an ace up his sleeve. He had Leon Clifton.
That's pretty hard to beat. That's pretty hard to beat.
Dad.
Yes.
That's back when we were running those 6-cylinders, and he was just...
He was the master. He was a wizard.
He was magic on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Gray, what do you see as the vision? What is the future of Bowman Gray from your perspective, obviously, who knows if we're going past March? You mentioned that earlier in the show. We don't know what's leading ahead. What do you feel is the vision and future for Bowman Gray from the way that you see it?
I think Bowman Gray will continue as they are as the weekly track. I think, that they will try to be the weekly track standard that's out there right now. You brought up other touring series divisions. I think that will come into play. I think that will come in. NASCAR come in, they spent millions on lights. They put up these nice soft walls that are hard.
Nothing soft about that.
But then again, they're safe. They're still kind of safe. So, I mean, they made major investments over there. So it's not like they're going to come in and run the clash and load up and leave. They're not. I think there's going to be things that's going to open the doors more for the future. I think that, NASCAR has some EV cars out there. What a great place to try to run those, see what's going on. I think NASCAR could use that as a test track for a lot of things that they may try to experiment with. Because, I mean, if you go up you don't want to take something to Daytona and try it off the thing, because if it goes haywire, you're in trouble.
Yeah, the consequences for the action are not good there. Yeah,
so you can take the Bowman Gray, you can do different things. So I think hopefully in, the next 10, 15, 20, pick your number, whatever you want to pick, I think you still have weekly racing. Is it going to change? Yeah, it's going to change, tenfold what it's going to change because of computers and AI and all this stuff. Things are going to change dramatically. But I think you're still going to have the hardcore racing, rubbing, beating, banging stuff going on. I think you will.
If we go to EV, would the curfew be gone?
I don't know.
No noise, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody even knows, just the roar of the crowd.
Yeah.
Eric, what else do we have? Okay, yeah, we'll get to that here in just a second. So you talk about the beating and the banging, this, that, and the other. For a few years, I sat in the announcer's tower next to where you pace the floor back and forth. I believe there's holes worn in the carpet right there.
They've replaced it.
With your microphone in your hand. When you look out and you see excitement on the racetrack, and we're going to call that a confrontation, we're going to call that our friend Zach Staley attempting to rip the hood off a car, or we're looking out there and we've got Bert and Brad into it, or Bert's throwing a tub of Speedy Dry on Chris's car, or whatever it may be. When you see those confrontations, while we don't necessarily want to see that, do you feel like that adds entertainment value?
Well, the saying is racing, wrestling, and religion.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. It's kind of those things.
Yes.
We race and we have some discussions like wrestling, and the religion part comes in. They sit in the same seats like you do in church on Sunday.
Sure.
Same thing. Does it add? It's entertaining. It is. Some guys go over the line. They get the emotions get the best of them. But I think it is entertaining, and the job. What I've always tried to do there, and this is not answering your question. I'm going to dance around it. The question is when you come to Bowman Gray, my job has always been is I want you to leave there. It's like a soap opera.
Very much so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And soap operas have cliffhanger Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to come back on Monday and see what happened. Who shot who, whatever, you pick your thing. And Bowman Gray's the same way. We want something to happen on a Friday. Saturday, and we want people walking away saying, I cannot believe what I just saw. I cannot believe what I just saw.
And we have definitely had those nights.
We have. Yes. And that's the goal to everything. And whether it's a guy jumping out of an airplane at 10,000 feet in the middle of the dark,
right?
With sparklers on his feet, where are you going to see that at?
It's not common. Yeah.
So we want people walking away saying, I cannot believe what I just saw.
Kudos on the flyover this year for the first race. That was bad to the bone.
Yeah, we've been at it for several years.
Those
guys are great.
Yeah, I've had to miss first race a couple seasons, but they're
great.
Epic. And for a lot of folks who don't know, you're a pilot, so you've kind of got some connections with some of those guys. So that was that was one of those deals. National anthems play and the flyover, man. If you weren't a red-blooded American, if you didn't have a tear in your eye and a lump in your throat right then, you need to just pack up and leave that place. That was awesome.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. And we try to do something. People say, I cannot believe what I just saw. Like you just said, you remember that.
Never forget it.
And if you had some kids, you will remember there's these planes flying over, the smoke coming out, the national anthem playing, them doing these rolls, swinging back around. That type of thing. People jumping out of airplanes in the dark. We want things to be different. For a weekly track, we try to do things that no other weekly track does. And we're very fortunate that because we have the grass infield.
Sure.
There's a lot of things we can do in that.
That other folks just can't do.
Yeah, with the monster trucks. Yeah. Those type things. You got the infield, you do monster trucks. We do all these kind of gimmicky things that you're not going to see in a lot of places. But the thing that makes the stadium so special is when you do those gimmicks, you're right on top of it. When we have a skid plate race, which people don't know, it's we put these plates on the back of these front wheel drive cars and sparks are flying. These kids just love to watch it.
Oh yeah.
You're right there at it. You
On
can
top of it.
see it. You can just feel it. Them scraping. So that's the big thing is what a promoter should be trying to do is do things that people won't forget. You're making memories. As a weekly track, you're making memories. I think you go talk to anybody in this community. You talk to whatever age, the older people like me, well, that's where we used to date.
Sure, yeah.
That's where we used to
A lot of people, that's where they met their spouses.
You remember going as a kid. You remember, I think everybody that has been to Bowman Gray remembers their first time at Bowman Gray. It's like their first kiss. You remember it.
Yeah.
You remember your first time at Bowman Gray. And that's important. So when you go that first time and see that first race, you need to walk away saying, how come I haven't been here before?
Sure.
What have I been doing? And that's what you try to do is generate these things that's different, just different. I mean, you go to a baseball game, a lot of baseball games, you got, still, 90 feet to a base, whatever it is?
Yeah.
Bat, same length, ball, same thing, everything. It's the same thing repetitive, but some people love the sport, and that's great. They love it. But you come to Bowman Gray, you're not going to see the same thing every week.
Every week, no.
You're not going to see it. There's something that's going to stand out.
Organized chaos.
Yes.
Motorized wrestling. I've heard it said, called all kinds of stuff.
Yes. Something's going to happen that's going to stand out, and you're going to remember that time you went. And that's what's important.
When the smoke settles and it's all done, and you watch your last checkered flag live there, wearing that official shirt, what do you want people to remember about Gray Garrison?
You want to remember that it was part of the family, the competitors. But the fans don't know me. They don't care. They want to see their favorites going in the circle, and it's about the competitors. I want the drivers to say that, Gray wasn't as bad as I thought he was. I think I'm probably the most hated person at Bowman Gray Stadium for the competitors. I think they don't agree with me. We don't see eye to eye, which that means we're doing something right.
Right.
We don't see eye to eye. But I bet you 99% of them, if I called and said, I'm on the side of the road here, can you help me?
In a heartbeat, they'd all be there.
Where you at? They're on the way. Where you at?
Right.
So I think that's what's important. But then again, people forget quick, and that's fine. They'll forget quick. Like Richard Petty, he raced forever, then he quit, went drag racing.
Sure.
Nobody knew who Richard Petty was the next year.
Right.
So he had to go back racing. People forget quick, which is okay. You forget everything, and that's okay though. But as long as you can make a difference while you're there, that's what's important.
Now, what do you want people to remember about the Hawkins family? When we talk about heritage, we talk about Bowman Gray. Now that the Hawkins family, you're the third generation, you're the last standing member. What do you want people to remember about the Hawkins family when they reference Bowman Gray?
I would like to say they took a chance. They took the chance that goes back to that. Cars are not going to make it on pavement, but they took that chance. It goes back to the Hawkins when Bill France took the chance and they didn't separate ways. He wanted Alvin Hawkins, my grandfather, to go with him, but racing wasn't doing much back then. It was this sport, and there was not a lot of money in racing back in those days. There wasn't money. He had to stay here and feed the family. I want them to at least think that, they kept this going for 70 some years. That's how many people have a family business that lasts that long.
Very few.
And it's still a thriving business. So I think I would like for them to remember that. They'll think what's the latest and greatest, which is okay.
Sure.
Like I say, make a difference while you're there.
Closing thoughts for race fans. What do you want race fans to know about Bowman Gray? If you got the audience of the race fans right now, what would you like to tell every race fan out there?
It's hard to explain. You cannot explain Bowman Gray. You can talk to any driver who's coming there, and you just can't explain it until you're there, till you feel it, till you see it. It's a bucket list thing. If you're not, you don't have to be a race fan to come to Bowman Gray.
Agreed.
You do not have to be a race fan. You have to be a fan of life, of people, of different things, because you can go there. I know people come just to watch the people. They come and watch.
It's a great place to people watching. There's all kinds of people there.
There's all kinds of people, and you're going to see something you'll remember.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think if you've never been to Bowman Gray, come to Bowman Gray. And if you've never been to a weekly track, go to your local weekly track. NASCAR has a lot of weekly tracks out there.
Great point.
Just go to a weekly track and see what's going on, and you might like it. If you don't, at least you win. you can't be judgmental till you go.
You're exactly right. How about for our competitors? If you could tell our competitors, I would say most of the 100 racers are going to tune into the podcast. So if you could say one thing, blanket to the racers, what would that be? You got the audience, all of them at one time.
I think the thing of it is we're not going to see eye to eye. We're not going to see, we're not going to be on the same page. But if we do things, it's for the best of the whole stadium. It's the best for the competitors. It's the best for the fans. And I think in a lot of situations, we're not going to agree eye to eye then. But then if you go back and catch your breath and stop and analyze it, you'll see why things happen the way they happen. Now, did we screw up? Oh, gosh, we screw up. You know, like I say,
Absolutely.
that's the biggest thing is you've learned so many times by screwing up that you learn not what to do. But if the competitors come and if something happens to them, just go back and analyze it step by step. And you can come back to me and say, Gray, you were wrong. And if I was wrong, I say, yeah, you're right, I was wrong, but I learned from it. And as long as you learn from it and I learn from it, we're both going to be in a better place next time.
Absolutely. Good point. Good point. Any other closing thoughts before we let you go?
No, thank you for having me here.
Man, we're really excited that you got a chance to come down. Hopefully we didn't burn you up too bad today.
No, anytime. Just give me a call. We'll come back. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some times during the season.
Well, we're hoping we have some of that excitement you talked about so that we can get you back on the show, man. Gray's always been really good for us when we're at the track. We do a couple interviews with him and stuff. And even during the heat of battle, we try not to shove a microphone in your face while it's going on. But the week after, when cooler heads prevail, it's always good to talk about that, hash it out, and kind of hear what it is. And the great thing is we've got, because of Flow, because of the TV show, we've got people that are following Bowman Gray nationwide, worldwide. I mean, multiple countries, people from everywhere. So great to just have been a part of it. Man, I've been able to race there for a long time, still own cars there. It's home. People say, hey, where's your home track? It's always has been, always will be. Bowman Gray Stadium, man. Really an honor to have Gray Garrison on. Folks, don't forget, if you're in the market for that trailer, JeffHillTrailersales.com. Jeff will get you taken care of. Until next time, drive fast, take chances.